it's Jeff Lang here from United Business Solutions. Welcome to our next YouTube session on Charon. The purpose of today's session is to address the most common question that we get asked by our customers and prospective customers is, how do I migrate what I've got into a Charon environment? There's two pieces to this question. The first one we'll do today. We'll do it live on YouTube. We're going to migrate an OpenVMS alpha environment to a virtual alpha on Charon. Later on we'll come back and show the Unix people how to do true 64 Unix migration. Just a recap. What we've got here is what we're going to do. We've taken a real alpha running OpenVMS and an RDB Oracle database running real applications with a real tape and a real disk. We want to get that across so there's no changes to your applications, to your data, to your database or to your licensing. That software stack is going to come across and sit somewhere. And that somewhere is going to be on an x86 platform of your choice. And we do Stratus fault-tolerant servers for those people who want real high availability in this new outcome. Something you can't get with an alpha. And we're going to run our Charon emulator here. So that above it we're an alpha and below it we're an x86 environment. This x86 environment can run both Red Hat Linux and VMware and Windows as a host operating system environment. In regards to migration, there are many ways to do that. The first one, which we're going to do today, is take a tape which we've produced using standalone backup under VMS on a real alpha, and we're going to restore it into Charon. It turns out that's about 90 to 95% of the way that we do it every time we do a project. Sometimes we join a cluster where there's no downtime permitted or minimal downtime. We'll join a cluster as a node. We'll use volume shadowing to move the data and operating system into the Charon environment. There will then be a small outage while we reboot and terminate the use of the other real clusters. We can connect a physical disk, and we'll show you how we've connected a real physical tape drive straight off an alpha onto our machine here. We can do a network copy, and there's many other ways which are complicated, which we won't deal with. So this is the way to plan for it. This is also pretty good. I'll just show you around the back here what we've done with our PC. This is a PC, it's an i7 PC. We've got an Adaptec SCSI controller in it. We've got a cable from a PC shop plugging straight into the back of our digital DLT tape drive. The Windows environment sees this just through the registry. We have disabled the drivers for Windows for the tape. So the only thing making that tape turn around will be the Charon software. What John's got here is a real tape which we've produced on the alpha, and we're going to go through the whole process in front of your eyes. So
hi guys, John. So we have the tape here that we've made from our physical DS20. Just putting it into our tape drive here. I'm going to boot up our Alpha Server DS10, which is the destination target in this environment. So you see here the tape's just spinning around as it would. Tapes take a long time. If we look at our current system here that we're migrating to, you'll see that we have 5 or 6 disks, and we have one tape called MKA600. This is our test system, which we use to do restores to and from, which we're booting as DKA0. Our target in this scenario is going to be DKA400. So here I am just booting DKA0, which is our test environment. From here we'll be able to restore our physical environment to our virtual disk. As you can see, the boot time on a virtual environment is much quicker than what you'll find in a real environment. So from here, you'll see all of our devices, our disks, and DKA400 as our target. Our tape drive is MKA600. So what we're going to do here is mount our destination. we're going to backup / image from our target tape to our destination DKA 400. As you can see, the tape's now spinning around. First it's going to mount the tape rather, and now it's going through the backup process, which on a virtual environment should take about 4 to 5 minutes time. So while we're waiting for that to go ahead, what I'm going to do here is show you some of how we do some of the background work on my laptop here. So you'll see this is also a very similar machine. It's basically the same test environment that we're using on our other machine. So you'll see very similar disks. From here, I'll show you how we actually make these disks and how we configure our systems. So you'll see we have here our configuration file, which basically is how we define all of the elements of our virtual machine. Let me just change the font size for you guys. Okay, so from here you'll be able to see how we actually configure our machine. So we've got it here defined as a DS20. We then talk about our log file, so how we can see when the machine's crashed and things like this. We can set the affinity, so which CPU thread the machine actually ties up in Windows, the number of CPUs that the machine uses, in this case up to 4, RAM size, so we're using the default of 512. This is here how we save our console parameters and our time and date. We can load up, as you can see, physical serial lines to emulate your real environment, or in this case we're going to use a virtual serial line using PuTTY as our console, which is what you see here. You'll see that we can also bring up our CD-ROMs. So you can attach the physical CD-ROM of the system to your system. So you can use things like standalone backup as you would in the real world. This is where we're loading our SCSI controller, and this is the disk that we load. So as you can see, DKA 0, 100, 200, 300 are basically just V disks. So virtual disks sitting on Windows. So this will be defined as a RZ28, 29, things like that. You can then also connect to physical drives. So as a physical drive is seen in Windows, 0, 1, 2, 3, depending on which drive you're looking for. You can bring up things like ISO images. So instead of having a physical CD-ROM, you can actually just boot off an image of a CD drive. Tape and virtual tapes. Virtual tapes basically are a way of removing physical tapes out of your environment. You'll see here we also have the network. Just here, so EWA and EWB. So we define our network, so it'll be a Realtek card or an Intel card based on your system. Now if we come back to our other system here, you'll see that our backup is just finished. So if I do show dev D, I've still got my disk mounted as foreign. So if I dismount DKA 400 and then mount DKA 400, you'll see it now comes up as alpha sys. So if I halt my machine, I'm now back at the console, and from here I should be able to now boot off my new drive. And here we go. So it's still booting the same version of VMS as before. I now need to enter my date and time because it's a new system. And we're going through the same boot process we were before. because we're running off the same config file, you'll notice that when we get in here, all of the parameters from our original system remain true. And there we are. We have now migrated to Charon.
Thanks very much, John. What we've done here is we've shown you the most common way, tape-based, to migrate from a real machine to the Charon environment for OpenVMS, regardless of whether it's VAX or Alpha, the mechanism is the same. What we'd like to do in future sessions is, as I said, show that to you and do it, and we'll have some other fun as well. Thanks very much, guys. See you next time.